Here we go then, folks. Welcome to Elland Road. Good afternoon to you all. We are about an hour away from kickoff, and we are here to bring you the team news ahead of Norwich City's fifth round FA Cup tie against Leeds United. The prize, a place in the last eight, one game from Wembley for whoever the winner may well be. And it has been an afternoon of shocks so far. Less so in the first game of the day, but Southampton progressing against Fulham with a late penalty. And then what has just been in the last few minutes, a seismic shock at Vale Park, where Onel Hernandez's Port Vale have progressed through to the last eight of the competition with a 1-0 win over Sunderland. Can Norwich City continue that theme? We shall see. Connor Southwell, Paddy Davitt with you. Team news dropping in about a minute or so, slightly different for the FA Cup in that they go an hour before rather than the usual hour and 15, so we've had to readjust, but all good. Paddy, how you feeling? Again, with the caveat, I may well cut across you for team news in a second.
Very well, Connor, very well. Good afternoon, everybody. Got here 2 hours 15 before kickoff. It was about 5 minutes to kickoff. The amount of people around this place today, lots of Norwich, lots of yellow and green, and it feels big. Yeah, it feels big from both sides because you've talked about Port Vale have got through, Southampton got through earlier. I know there's some big hitters and they have to do the business today, but what a path that could open up. But obviously that's irrelevant if they don't do the business, and let's be honest, outside of the Norwich bubble, produce what would be seen as a shock and an upset. So can they do it? Absolutely. But they'll need all the luck going, I think. And, Leeds will have to have an off day, maybe a bit of complacency, maybe to make a few changes. All of those are a given. But Norwich have to do their business.
Let's bring you the team and the one change for Norwich City. I'll flash it up at the bottom for you there. That's the starting 11. I'll add the subs in a moment. Is a change in goal. Dan Grimshaw comes in for Vladan Kovacevic. It's Fisher, McConville, Cordoba and Kruzene at the back. Sam Field and Kenny McLean, who makes his 300th appearance for the club this afternoon, becomes the 24th player in Canaries history to do that, captaining him on his 300th appearance as well. It's Gibbs and Ahmad either side of Magoma, with Matthias Kriskoren up front. The subs bench, Kovacevic, Stacey, Medic, Darling, Wright, Springett, Forson, Slimani and Errol Mundell-Smith. So for any kind of question marks on how strong Philippe Clement would go this afternoon, the answer is very strong. Barring a change in goal, that is the same starting 10, same starting outfield as what we saw away at Leicester last weekend when Norwich City produced that 2-0 win in the Championship. And their form on the road generally has been very, very strong. So, that is the major change, the only change. Vladan Kovacevic out, Dan Grimshaw in. Otherwise, Philippe Clement goes as you were in terms of his team, which feels like maybe a signal of just how seriously and just how intense he wants to take this game, with that desire to try and progress through to the quarter-final. And as we've said, that would be a significant one for Norwich. I wrote about this in my column today. The last time they got there, 2020, I kind of almost wanted to say I was one of the lucky few that was in the ground. I didn't feel very lucky at the time. It was such a sad occasion that in comparison to what it could be, Norwich have a chance to right that wrong. Paddy Davitt, what's your thoughts and reflections on that team news?
It's a little bit conflicting, that, for me, because I thought if he was going to make a change, it might be, given the two previous FA Cup ties, I thought he might go Grimshaw actually instead of Kovacevic, but equally I thought he might maybe give a nod to, as he touched on with you yesterday, that he's got a game coming up midweek. He's got another game thereafter, 3 days later. 13 unavailable players. Do you, for me, Darling in instead of Cordoba? I wouldn't have been surprised to see that. And equally, maybe Kruzene feels like they're managing him to a degree, fitness-wise. So could you have gone Kruzene out, Fisher and Stacey? Fisher's versatility on the left-hand side. No, not a bit of it. That is the same 10 who took the field at Leicester last weekend. Compared to the two previous games in this competition, minimal changes. It probably underlines what Philippe Clement feels, that if Norwich are going to progress today, they have to go as strong as they can in terms of the available options. I look at that bench. You've got the likes of Slimani,
Forson as well. That's the big return, isn't it?
But there's not. I mean, with the greatest respect to Springett and Mundell-Smith, there's not a huge amount of game-changing options there. So, I think it's understandable that you try and go from the get-go with as strong as you could go. You could argue Slimani in the mix there, but apart from him, that's about as strong as he could go. I think Field and McLean, for me, have proven themselves to be the best pairing right now. Good news about Pella Matson edging back towards a position where he might be in contention. I don't think you go with Jacob Wright in that midfield today, because the nature of it is Leeds are going to try and dominate, try and be aggressive, try and dominate the ball. Thank you. And if they do that, then you're going to need to have a little bit of experience, I think, in the centre of the park. And hopefully Field and McLean can offer you that. And, there's one thing for sure, Dan Grimshaw will be tested today. So let's hope that man can step forward. As Philippe said a few weeks back, he almost sees it now as two number ones he's got there competing. That's fine to say that, but today to prove that by putting in Grimshaw and leaving Kovacevic on the bench initially, that would suggest that he feels there is a real competitive edge to that battle for the Norwich number one moving forward. So, yeah, I'm not hugely surprised, but I wouldn't have been surprised if he'd have maybe made one or two more changes in the back five, I think.
Yeah, and as we turn to our right, that noise you might be able to or might not be able to hear in the background is some of that away end, which is filling up. 3,000 Norwich City fans also here this afternoon to cheer on their team. We will bring you the Leeds team in just a moment. A fair few changes for them from their Premier League team ordinarily. But we've got to speak about Kenny McLean, haven't we, Pad? 300 up for Norwich City this afternoon. That is an exclusive club when you look at the names that are in it. Some absolute legends of this football club, of which I think we can begin to talk about Kenny McLean as.
Yeah, I think so. Certainly modern day wise, as Philippe said to you yesterday, very rare now to have any players, certainly the top end of the English game, clock up that amount of longevity with one club. That's the crucial factor. Yeah, I mean, James Milner's just got a lot come his way because he's now the record Premier League appearance holder, but for multiple clubs, Kenny McLean is. Yes, he had a stint with Aberdeen, but since he headed south, it's been in Norwich and Norwich alone. And 300 is a very exclusive club, and I think he's playing as well as he has for a number of years. For me, and he merits his position in this team. He merits his status within that dressing room. You've went down and spoke to him midweek. I think we can trail that now. There'll be a lovely chat coming on our video channels Monday evening. We'll drop that. That's well worth bookmarking to have a bit of a walk down memory lane with Kenny McLean, the man himself, reflecting on his most memorable games or memories around that 300. And I think there'll be a few more to come. We know there was this contractual option. I don't think we're giving too many confidences away to say that you'll probably hear in very short order that has been triggered, and as a result there'll be a bit more of Kenny McLean yet to come. This isn't 300 and we're in the last part of the last lap. I think there's still plenty more to give for that man in a Norwich shirt, and today against a guy who brought himself, who made him part of that wonderful double title winning era, who I know thinks of him fondly and would have maybe happily at one point tried to bring him to Leeds. That ship's probably sailed now, but there's a lot of threads around this today, and you just hope that there's a fairy tale ending as well in terms of Kenny McLean, and that would be fantastic. But for him and for his family, it's a great achievement, and I'm sure, being the professional that he is, that's as far away from his thoughts as could be. It's about 90 minutes leading his team, be as competitive as they can be against a very aggressive, front-footed Premier League entity. I know that that's the wrong end of the table, you could argue, but I mean, anybody who's watched them under Farker, they are very competitive in terms of Premier League this season, and Kenny McLean is a competitor at heart, and he'll need to be all of that and more, and all those other 10 who line up behind him and then come out behind him in the tunnel, they all need to almost take a leaf out of his book and be fearless and be brave and be willing to engage and not be cowed by this atmosphere or you playing against Premier League players. No, not a bit of it. Go and prove, as Philippe Clement seemed to be suggesting yesterday, that you can handle this occasion and that you can show that, albeit in a one-off match, okay, you might be Premier League, but that's where we're trying to get to. And if you're a player, you want to be part of that journey for Norwich. And Kenny McLean knows, one of the few in that Norwich dressing room, what it takes to get to the Premier League, and then you need to play in a Premier League. And beyond today, wouldn't it be great if there's still maybe one more promotion on his CV in a Norwich shirt?
Yeah, it absolutely would, wouldn't it? And what an achievement! I think he's got some family here today to take in that occasion with him, and it is some achievement. And hopefully, business today, but I'm sure as will the case be on Wednesday night. But you just hope there is some real recognition of that before kick-off against Sheffield United, because it's a fantastic achievement for really top professional for Norwich City. And let's hope he can go well, and it can be a memorable day to honour that particular landmark. Let's bring you the Leeds United team then. It is quite a few changes for them. I don't know quite how many. I'm just trying to read down now. I can't see in terms of number of changes, but it is very different. I think it's going to be a three at the back for them. Perry in goal, Gudmundsson, Bornell and Bijol as the three potential. It could be a four with Ampadu maybe at full back. Then you've got Longstaff and Tananka as the midfield two, with James, Nonto and Nemanja behind Joel Perot. So I think that probably is going to be a four. I'll just run you through that again. Perry in goal, Gudmundsson, Bornell, Bijol and Ampadu. Longstaff and Tanaka the midfield two. James and Nemanja the wingers, with Nonto behind Joel Perot. Their subs bench: Carl Darlow, Sam Byram, Jaden Bogle, Justin Stroyek, Gruev, Stack, Bonarate and Brendan Aronson. So an interesting kind of selection from Farker, a real mix probably of some of those frontline options that we see in the Premier League, with some players like Bornell, Perry, who's kind of dropped out of the team recently. Longstaff hasn't played much in the Premier League. There's a mixed lineup from him and from Leeds today, with, of course, safety probably their priority, which he openly admitted in his press conference before this game.
And he also talked about difference to Norwich. They haven't had a full week to prepare. They've had a 3-game cycle. This is the 3rd game in 3. And I'm sure that's in his mind as well in terms of player load. Sam Byram also on the bench, I see. Very glad not to see Aronson in 11, because I think he's the player that makes them tick. Him and Ampadu, they feel like they're the heartbeat of this Leeds team.
Sorry, I will just correct it, because there are various lineup things which aren't always accurate, but they've got Leeds in a 3, which would be Perry, Bornell, Bijol and Gudmundsson, James, Ampadu, Longstaff, Nonto, Perot, Tanaka and Nemanja up front. So that's how they've lined up. We'll see what it translates to as and when we kick off.
And did we work out how many changes from Sunderland? Yeah. Well, it looks like quite a few just at first glance. And if so, I didn't work for Fulham earlier today. I think they made 5 changes, and I know they looking at the stats as we drove up, looked like they had a huge amount of possession. And
9 changes.
9. Well, there you go. That has to be good. Get a chance today. That for me is another little tick for Norwich. Yes, they have to take advantage of it, but this won't be a Leeds team who played together as that 11 too often. I wouldn't have thought this season. So can Norwich make a little bit of inroads into what might be, certainly in the early stages, a sense of a Leeds team not thrown together, but maybe trying to find that rhythm and that understanding that the Premier League starters, if you want to call them that, clearly have already. So, and the man himself not being on the touchline, we know he's banned today. He's in the stadium, but him not being there front of house, we know what a commanding figure he is and what a presence he gives off. That has to surely have an impact as well for me. But these are all incremental things, and what really it's going to come down to is this Norwich team, can they more or less bring into this game what they've shown certainly in 26, but also certainly in 26 away from home. 5 league wins in 6 away from home since the turn of the year is a phenomenal effort. And really, you have to be honest, they were very unlucky, I thought, at Middlesbrough not to get some in that day as well, the only blemish. So if Norwich can continue in that vein, and this will have to be, for me, as good a performance into Clement as he's mustered, then there's no doubt, some of those little elements we're talking about the amount of changes for Leeds, no Farker, might just tip the balance, but they'll all be irrelevant if Norwich come here and look what the tables would suggest, which is a bottom half championship side. I don't think they are that now, but that's where the table places them right now. But then equally, Leeds are at the wrong end of the table and still in the mix for relegation. If you look at the table, there's them, there's Forest, West Ham, Tottenham now. They've got work to do. So, yeah, I just hope that there's as Farker said, Clement said yesterday, there's a bravery to this performance from Norwich, irrespective of the outcome. But they don't turn up here and feel this is beyond them and it's too big for them. No, I don't want to see any of that today. I just want to see a group of players who, led by this head coach, believe that they're good enough to come here and put on a performance which, at the very least, makes them very competitive. Yeah, that's all you can hope for, I think.
Yeah, no Calvert-Lewin in that Leeds squad at all, which, again, you look for kind of small wins from a Norwich perspective. That is one. Joe Rodon as well, who I think had a bit of a fitness out before that Sunderland game, also not involved. But otherwise, all of those players that were involved on Tuesday night, most of them on the bench. 9 changes for Daniel Farker's team. where do you assess this in terms of Norwich? Because clearly their form in recent weeks pushed them up the championship table. They're not quite as frantically looking over their shoulder. Still job to be done there, though, as is probably the case with Leeds in the Premier League, although they're maybe slightly closer to it than Norwich are. Does that give Clement freedom to really attack this, or because, and we've seen this, Norwich have kind of got the opposite to Leeds, haven't they, where Leeds have got a clean week after this and Norwich have to bounce back into the Championship on Wednesday night against Sheffield United. So it's going to be a bit of a juggling act for Philippe Clement now, especially with all of the players sidelined.
You say that, Connor, but I mean, the fact he's gone the same 10 unchanged from Leicester outfield, I think that signals that, yes, we know what's coming next down the track in short order, and it is picking up the threads in the Championship. And he wouldn't go anywhere near. And to be fair, anytime you talk to him about tables, rankings, points, he doesn't want to know. But he's not stupid. He can see where they are. I think that's done now in terms of they're not going to get sucked into what's going on at the bottom of the table. So that again just releases a little bit of the pressure in terms of his team selection approach today. But I think it's more a reflection that they've had a clear week to prepare. Any of the issues that, like Slimani coming out of Leicester, they can manage those properly. They've not had to really balance a midweek game cycle. So why not have a good crack today? And more interesting for me will be, depending obviously on the game state, but how he manages his resource as we move into the second half. In theory, this could go extra time. It could go very long today. So does that become more of into his thinking in terms of players and player load? Chris Gordon be the obvious one. I mean, he only got 60 minutes out of him again at Leicester. That seems to me to be his limit. I don't think he feels that he can necessarily go much longer. And if that is the case today, then he's going to have to come up with some creative solutions, isn't he? So that'll be an interesting one. You wouldn't think it's necessarily crying out for an Errol Mundell-Smith down the middle today, particularly if the game's still in the balance. So that for me is, of the issues he's got to maybe unpick as this game unfolds, that'll be the main one, because he doesn't have Toure, he doesn't have Nakama. I mean, I'm looking down, we got no Emi Marcondes either. So couldn't even operate with him in a false position. So
Jakov Medic, wasn't it?
All right, okay. Yeah, well, we've had some strange twists today in the FA Cup, but that would be the strangest of them all if Medic comes on and affects it in a positive way. But
that sort of backs up the idea that Norwich probably need to come out quite quickly, because if this game gets to a stage later on where they need a goal or they need to change it, certainly those attacking options, with the exception of Anis Ben Slimani, Forson as well, and then obviously Springer, who's played since Christmas, but his only goal has come in this competition, Errol Mundell-Smith, who's a young kid, whereas defensively the options are stronger, really.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. Yeah, I mean, I don't think any of us would have sort of predicted a four that wasn't the four that he's gone with today, really. I mean, Slimani's the only equation that would enter into that, but he's decided, as you would do, Mahoma so far, every time he's got a start, he's really affected the play, and looking for stories within stories, and if he could come today and carry on where he's left off, West Brom in the last cup tie, he was very good, very bright, very inventive. Leicester last weekend, he didn't get his reward maybe in terms of goals or assists, but he did enough in that first hour to suggest that maybe today, in terms of how this game could pan out, if it is Norwich having to be good in counters and transitional moments, not have as much of the ball, then finding him in them pockets and those moments could be key to Norwich hopefully causing Leeds a few problems, rather than what it becomes is a relentless ebb towards Grimshaw's goal. You wouldn't want to see that game unfold for me. So, but we've spent 5-10 minutes discussing, and I think we've arrived at the same conclusion. Top end of the pitch, they don't have changeable options. That's the top and bottom of it. And if we get to the second half and he has to go Jakov Medic or Errol Mundell-Smith up front, I guess that just underlines A, what a brilliant job he's doing, but B, the scarcity of resource. And what he won't do, I'm sure, is risk a Chris Gordon with too long a load today if it then meant he was unavailable for midweek, or heaven forbid unavailable for any length of time. Because if he's not available, where on earth do they go in terms of top end of the pitch?
Yeah, where on earth do they go? That probably brings us to the stage where we try and make predictions which are usually wildly inaccurate. Paddy, what are you going for today?
No, we're not usually wildly inaccurate.
Just inaccurate.
Yeah. I mean, now I've seen that Leeds lineup, I'm a bit more bullish. I thought coming here it'll be, yes, he'll make changes, not to that degree, and as a result, that cohesiveness will still be retained in the Leeds performance. And that they would probably just edge it 2-1, 3-1. I'm probably going to stick with that, but what I have absolutely no doubt is that Norwich will come here and will be very competitive in their faces, won't take a backward step. All the things we didn't see, sadly, on our last visit here, which was that calamitous second leg of the playoff under Wagner when they just rolled over, surrendered basically. So if I leave here today and Norwich have maybe not got themselves into the quarterfinals, but have nevertheless had a right good go at Leeds, and you can walk away thinking, okay, we know what the end goal is, it's to join the Leeds in this level, and maybe, as Philippe said yesterday, irrespective of the result, this is a bit of a benchmarking exercise for him. How far along are they now, allowing for the injury mitigation? How far or how close are they to a club who ran away with the championship last season, to be fair, a bit tighter in the end, but they were the standout team and looked set for me to stay in it this time around in the Premier League. So, yeah, probably just fall the wrong side of it for me, but nevertheless, looking forward to a cracking cup tie. You?
Yeah, I probably agree with Nick here. I think it will be tight. I think it will be close. I think Norwich will be competitive. But I think probably in the end, Leeds' quality and strength in depth may well prove costly. But as there was a comment earlier about the FA Cup and it doing funny things, and we've seen that today, there is every chance on a one-off game Norwich City can find a way to win this game. And, would it be a huge surprise or shock if they did, given the run they've been on under Clement, one defeat in 8 on the road, and obviously some really big results in that. They've gone some big places away, Wrexham and various others, and even Middlesbrough. I know they lost that day, but were very competitive there against one of the top championship teams. So let's see how well they can bridge that gap today. But yeah, I'm with you over the piece. I think Leeds will just edge it. But hey, what a story it would be, and what a brilliant occasion it would be for those 3,000 or so Norwich City fans just to our right. If Norwich City could walk away today with a memorable win and a spot in the FA Cup quarter-finals. Whatever happens, twists and turns inevitable. We will have them covered for you at pinken.com, all the analysis and reaction across our channels later as well. Paddy will be getting Philippe Clement's post-match debrief as well. So, yeah, fingers crossed, everyone, and let's hope we are talking at the end of today about the prospect of a quarter-final in the FA Cup. Thanks for joining us. See you again very soon.